Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're saying goodbye to the Master Premier Cup with an incredibly fun video, watching a trainer terrorize the Master Premier Cup with a SHUNDO level 51 Volcarona. Now, these battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community. Isaac is cool, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Volcarona actually has surprisingly decent stats. At level 51, it gets up to 41 to 55 combat power. It is going to be a bug and fire type Pokemon with the moveset of Fire Spin, Overheat, and Bug Buzz. So the moveset does leave a lot to be desired, but these battles should be incredibly fun. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And in the first match, he picks up a pretty nice lead, leading a Hex Gholdengo into Dragon Breath Gyarados. Hex doesn't do a lot of fast move damage, but what it does offer Gholdengo is pretty fast pacing, able to spam out massive super effective damage onto the Gyarados every 12 turns. Gyarados ends up no shield in the first Power Gem. Gyarados does not show Crunch, so it's highly likely they're opting for Aqua Tail and Twister. This Aqua Tail will put Gholdengo pretty low, so Gholdengo will invest a shield and can now look to try and go for Hex Down. Hex Down is very nice, as in comes a Garchomp. Gholdengo going to be doubling up on Shadow Balls and really looking to try and ramp up the pressure on Garchomp. First Shadow Ball is going to be shielded. Gholdengo still going to throw one Hex, making sure to throw a good charge attack timing, and going for Shadow Ball number 2. This Shadow Ball is going to be no shielded. Garchomp can't commit to the farm down, because if they do, Gholdengo's making it to a third Shadow Ball. The speed of Hex paying off as the opponent is forced to go down all shields. Unfortunately, Garchomp energy is extremely strong into this team. Goodra is going to get brought in here, but Goodra, I imagine, will be easily two-shot with 2 Twisters. Unfortunately, Garchomp is even going to be able to make a third Twister. Goodra at this point is purely just shielding for the little bit of extra Dragon Breath damage, but the Aqua Tail will not be available before Twister takes the KO. So now it's all up to SHUNDO Volcarona in the back. It's a Metagross, and this game should be a win, because Metagross is going to get outpaced by one singular turn. The fact that switching takes a turn in this game is going to decide it. Overheat picks up the one-hit KO, and back in comes the Garchomp. Garchomp, wait, hang on a minute. They're able to make a last-second move. I believe this should only be a Twister, though. Twister from the Garchomp. Volcarona survives, and that is a good game. Picking up a great lead in game number 2, Gholdengo into Florges. Florges throws a Fairy Wind, save switches into Waterfall Primarina, and the opponent times that switch out perfectly, so that way they're able to sneak through a Waterfall as Gholdengo is able to land the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does really nice damage onto the Primarina, but unfortunately, Hex really does not apply a lot of fast move pressure, so I don't think Gholdengo will be able to farm down. Gholdengo banks a Shadow Ball, sends in the Goodra, double resisted Dragon Breath, unable to get the farm down before Primarina makes the Starving Voice. Primarina will get fully farmed down. Back in comes the Florges, and this is where Goodra's damage output is going to feel particularly unimpressive, because Aqua Tail just does absolutely nothing to Florges. At the very least, in a Great League format, Aqua Tail would at least do a little bit of damage out of Florges, but my goodness, Florges is just an absolute brick wall. With the switch timers up, Goodra able to bank energy, then pivot back into the Gholdengo. Gholdengo launches Shadow Ball, Florges puts up the shield, Florges stays in to debuff with Chilling Water, and this is going to cause a massive desync in the switch timer. They're going to pivot out. They're going to send in Metagross. Metagross unable to get the farm down. The Shadow Ball will be reached. Even a -1 Shadow Ball is not really something that Metagross should be keen to tank. So Metagross will put up the shield, and now in comes Volcarona. Volcarona really has to ensure that an Earthquake will not land. Going to call that the opponent is full sending, but they don't full send. They go for the Meteor Mash bait. Volcarona should only be hit with a Meteor Mash here. This is not enough for the Earthquake. Meteor Mash is going to be resisted. Volcarona still takes quite a bit of damage, and back in comes the Florges. Instant Overheat comes out from the Volcarona. Florges gets KO'd, and back in comes the Metagross, but there's an immediate pivot into the Goodra. Goodra's energy was debuffed, but it switched out to reset the debuff from before. Now Goodra's gonna make it to the back-to-back Aqua Tails, and that should secure the win. Aqua Tail does not do much, but Metagross had basically no HP left, and that's gonna be another win. We move to game number 3, Gholdengo into Metagross. Metagross actually pivots out, save switching into Primarina. I'm a bit surprised the opponent pivoted out, but I guess they were a little bit worried about Astonish. I imagine in the 2s, Astonish does a massive amount of damage to Metagross, but as the Gholdengo, I imagine that Shadow Claw still absolutely shreds you as well, so it's probably not fun for Gholdengo to stay in either. Gholdengo, unfortunately, not going to be able to get that knockout with the Shadow Ball, forced to put up the shield as Primarina goes for the Hydro Cannon, and in comes Goodra. Goodra does get a nice farm down, exiting with a little bit of energy. Unfortunately, that energy is not going to go very far into the Metagross, but Metagross shouldn't be able to one-shot with a Meteor Mash either. Meteor Mash will do a lot of damage, but Goodra does have a decent amount of bulk in the Master League. So this is going to be a matchup where there's not a lot of damage done on either side, but the longer that Goodra stays alive, the more chip damage he can get onto Metagross. Meteor Mash lands, and that's a very comfortable survive for the Goodra, and Goodra can now just utilize the fact that it has incredibly efficient pacing. Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail connecting. There's a simultaneous switch. Opponent reads the combo play, and they make a catch onto Florges. But they're forced to put up the shield because Florges doesn't really want to take a Shadow Ball, but Goldango is the hundo, barely able to hang on, making it to Shadow Ball number 2, and able to get very critical damage onto the Florges. Unfortunately, Florges is absolutely loaded on energy. In comes Volcarona. Florges throws on 2, maybe assuming Volcarona would have Incinerate, but unfortunately it cannot learn Incinerate in Pokemon Go. Chilling Water does not 2-shot, that's very helpful. In comes Goodra, going for the Aqua Tail, but the opponent gets the catch onto Metagross. Aqua Tail will not knock out the Metagross. Metagross has to try and farm down here, but they're unable to do so. Now they have to give up the final shield or lose the Metagross energy. They're going to give up the final shield, go for the full farm down, but this is going to set up the Volcarona. Volcarona gets the Fire Spin through, shield goes up, and for the opponent, Florges just cannot pick up the knockout with Chilling Water. We saw how much damage Chilling Water did earlier. It does not 2-shot. So Volcarona will be able to absorb the Chilling Water, make it to the overheat. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Great lead in the next match as Goldango once again leads into Florges. Opponent safe switches into King Gambit, and that's going to be answered with the Volcarona. Fire spins are adding up quite significantly here. King Gambit goes for the foul play, and it looks like foul play barely does not 2-shot. Gonna opt for the Bug Buzz, not wanting to lower its attack by 2 stages. Bug Buzz is gonna connect, and that's gonna be the end of King Gambit. Back in comes Florges. This is pretty close to Chilling Water range. We learned how much that did in the previous match. Chilling Water is going to land, and yes, it is going to be the end of Volcarona. Back in comes Goldango. Goldango gonna fire off the Shadow Ball. If Florges wants to try and make life awkward though, they can shield this and then start applying debuff after debuff with Chilling Water. Florges' pacing is absolutely relentless, even faster than Goldango. Chilling Water is gonna be no shielded. Luckily, this should be a pretty good matchup for Goldango. Even at -1, Shadow Ball should do a solid chunk of damage out of the Florges. Florges get a no shield, and in comes the Goodra. Goodra has a tough call to make. Are they going to full set the Moonblast? Is this going to be the Chilling Water? Big shield on the Moonblast. Because there's no debuff applied, Aqua Tail should actually be enough to knock out the Florges. Opponent still has yet to reveal their final Pokemon. Oh, it doesn't knock out, and they're able to make a last-second move. Aqua Tail just does no damage. It's just going to be the Chilling Water. And in the back, the final Pokemon is revealed to be Metagross. Goodra overfarms, able to pivot out as the switch timer comes up. Back in comes the Goldango, but this Metagross is so far ahead in terms of energy. While the Goodra was able to reset the Chilling Water debuff, Goodra energy really does not do a lot onto the Metagross. Goldango will fire off the Shadow Ball right as Metagross makes the Meteor Mash. Metagross undertaps, not wanting to take any additional damage. The opponent is counting on the fact that Goodra just simply cannot do enough damage to Metagross. Goodra will be able to make back-to-back charge attacks, but 2 Aqua Tails probably not going to be enough to take home the win. Even if Goodra went for 2 Thunder Punches, which does, I believe, do ever so slightly more damage, I still don't believe that would be enough to secure the KO, because they're able to make the Meteor Mash, and this is definitely going to be range. Goodra, pretty bulky, but not bulky enough. Meteor Mash takes the knockout, and that game is going to be a loss. Great lead in the next match, Goldango into Avalugg. Opponent safe switches into Rhyperior, and that's going to be quickly met with the Goodra. Even if it's a Rock Wrecker, I imagine Goodra can hold on here. Goodra actually puts up the shield and unfortunately gets baited by a Drill Run. Goodra gets to these Aqua Tails incredibly quickly, but it's a non-stab Aqua Tail, so I imagine Rhyperior should be able to hang on. Rhyperior does survive. That forces Goodra to throw again. Man, somehow on a team that features a Master League Volcarona, it is Goodra that I feel is honestly not carrying its weight. Goodra just really does not do a lot of damage. Rock Wrecker connects for huge damage. Goodra is able to make the last second Aqua Tail, but if the opponent wants, they can double shield and actually win Switch. That's exactly what they're going to go for. They do go for Switch. In comes Volcarona. Volcarona going for an aggressive Fire Spin down. Unfortunately, Rhyperior was barely able to hold on 1 HP to make the Rock Wrecker. That's going to pressure away the final shield. In comes Avalugg. And the Avalugg's not going to be here for very long. It's going to be one shot sent back to the Pokeball by Overheat. The final Pokemon is going to be King Gambit, and this is just the Volcarona show. Volcarona is able to bank a ton of energy and then reset the attack drop by switching back into Gholdengo. While Gholdengo is completely walled, Shadow Balls will slowly add up over time against the Kingambit, and this is decidedly not Foul Play range, so Foul Play will connect. Kingambit can't even farm down here, they're forced to throw energy, and then Volcarona will be able to close out the game with a game-winning overheat. Foul Play will knock out the Gholdengo, back in comes the Volcarona. Volcarona not quite able to make the overheat, but Foul Play is never knocking out the Volcarona. Foul Play is gonna land. There's the overheat. Honestly, didn't even need to hit any bubbles here. The overheat still would have knocked out, but gonna full charge it, KO Kingambit, and take the win. We move to the next game, Gholdengo into Shadow Metagross. I'm very curious to see this matchup play out. Yeah, the Shadow Claws do a ton of damage, and Metagross actually plays to the CMP tie. While this is only a meteor match, Gholdengo would still take a massive amount of damage, so the shield will come up. If the opponent's willing to throw an alignment though, it could be an opportunity to sneak through an entire free hex and be able to win the matchup. Gholdengo gets the free hex, that's exactly right. That's a really nice play of understanding your opponent's tendencies and then punishing them for it. Opponent's safe switch is pivoting out of the matchup, sending in Gyarados, but they don't catch the Shadow Ball. Instead, it's going to be a super effective Power Gem. And now, a quick switch into Goodra. Twister will hurt, it's going to hit for super effective damage here, but Goodra will be able to hang on, and even an Aqua Tail should be enough to deliver the knockout. Oh, not going to trust the Aqua Tail. Honestly, after how little the Aqua Tail did against Florges in a previous game, I can't blame him for not trusting the Aqua Tail damage. Opponent reveals their final Pokemon in the back is going to be Togekiss. While this will hit for super effective damage, Thunder Punch really not going to do much, and the Kiss can probably even go for a full farm down here. Oh, they throw energy, but it's caught onto the Volcarona. What a play. That's going to be the Aura Sphere. That is going to be resisted. The Pecks do hit for super effective damage. What is their coverage move? Is it Psyshock? Is it Dazzling Gleam? It's Dazzling Gleam. That's going to be resisted as well. But man, these Pecks are absolutely shredding. Volcarona unable to get a farm down. It would have been farmed down first, forced to go for the overheat. Opponent reads the combination play, fires off energy, but the switch timer was actually not quite yet up. The switch timer was very close to being up, but they were trying to read a combination play and they were unsuccessful. Gholdengo banks a Shadow Ball, back in comes the Goodra, firing off the last second Thunder Punch, but letting itself get as low as possible. Metagross needs to exit with the Meteor Mash loaded, and because Goodra took those extra Pecks, they just simply do not have the energy. In comes Gholdengo, Shadow Ball, KOs the Metagross, and takes the win. We move to the next match. What is Gholdengo going to be seeing this time? Oh, it's a very good lead as it leads into another Avalugg, but a Garchomp save switch is going to prove to be very problematic. I'm very surprised we've only seen one Garchomp in these battles so far, as Garchomp is by far and away the second strongest Pokemon in the Master Premier Cup. Metagross is definitely number one, but Garchomp is a very close number two. And Garchomp has such a dominant winning matchup into the Goodra. Like, even this Aqua Tail Garchomp would not have to respect. Garchomp actually does put up the shield, so they really want to try and make a play for Switch Advantage. But Switch Advantage won't do a lot for their Avalugg, because to be honest, their Avalugg is not going to appreciate seeing either the Gholdengo or the Volcarona. Goodra, are they really willing to double shield? No, they are not. Goodra gets KO'd. We kind of see the limitations of Goodra in that matchup, but now in comes Gholdengo. Gholdengo looking for the full farm down, not quite able to get there. The Hex is really not adding up. Garchomp makes the Earth Power and is able to pull away that final Protect Shield. Are they going to be bringing back in the Avalugg? It kind of feels like they can't afford to do so. They're almost forced to bring in the final Pokemon. Well, they do bring in the Avalugg, so clearly whatever's in back is not going to be a fan of energy from Gholdengo. Is it going to be their own Metagross? Power Gem will be shielded, gonna bank energy, send in the Volcarona, but Avalugg can run Earthquake. It's the moment of truth. Is this the Quake? It is not. It's just going to be the Icy Wind. So Avalugg is clearly running a moveset that can't really do a whole lot of damage onto the Volcarona. They went for the Icy Wind first. Now they're going to fire off a second Icy Wind. Volcarona will be forced to throw energy because the Fire Spins are suddenly doing no damage. Going to be full sending Overheat. It's -2. It's still going to take the knockout. Is it Metagross in the back? You bet it is. And with all the energy that's stored on Gholdengo, this game is over. It turns out the Volcarona won't even be needed. That Shadow Ball does a ton. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping to the final game of Master Premier, and it's a Pokemon I don't believe we've seen so far in this video. Gholdengo into Dragonite. Dragonite throws after 11 Dragon Breaths. This is going to be a Thunder Punch or a Superpower. I actually wasn't quite sure which one did more. I know Superpower is resisted, but it's obviously a much better move. But as it turns out, Thunder Punch actually does do something more damage. Dragonite will put up the shield. The opponent hasn't pivoted out yet. That should be a pretty good sign that Goldengo has some pretty nice value into this team. So honestly, I like the decision to put up the shield. Goldengo gonna look to try and overfarm, fire off another power gem. Really looking to ratchet up the pressure on the Dragonite. Dragonite double shields. There's a pivot out, and in comes Goodra. Usually Dragonite will not run Dragon Claw, so hopefully this will just be the Superpower. It is. Superpower is going to land. Opponent staying in while debuffed to throw energy. I'm actually quite surprised at that call. That's a lot of energy down the drain. They now pivot out and they send in the Metagross, but they would have been in a significantly better position had they actually saved the second Superpower and then brought in the Metagross. Metagross either way is going to get a pretty monster farm down, and that is quite alarming because Metagross energy is incredibly strong in this meta. Switch timer's up. In comes Volcarona. Do they actually have enough for the Earthquake here? I think they might be one short. Oh, the no shield, they were one short. And that is just an absolute catastrophe because that means this can only be a Meteor Mash as well. So that's not going to take the knockout, and Volcarona is able to completely remove them from the field of play. Back in comes the Dragonite, looking for the farm down, but not going to get there. With the new damage registration error mechanic, Overheat will take the KO. In the back is going to be a low kick Annihilate. I'm very surprised the opponent stayed in Dragonite versus the Goodra. It looks like they had a ton of good options to send in, but they stayed in, they threw all the Dragonite energy, and thank goodness they did, because if that Dragonite had energy, then Volcarona could have been in a lot of trouble in the endgame. All in all, these were some incredibly fun battles, so many thanks to Isaac for the battle submission. Man, I was looking through my Pokemon storage, and I don't even have a single shiny Volcarona, much less the Shundo Volcarona. So I'm very grateful that he was able to send in the footage, because obviously without this, we would never get to see a Shundo Volcarona absolutely running away with games. Volcarona has an incredibly cool typing, and honestly, its stats are surprisingly solid as well. I think the big thing that's holding Volcarona back, other than accessibility right now, is obviously going to be the moveset. Volcarona really does not have a lot of good moves. Fire Spin, by today's standards, is a very mediocre fast move. It has Overheat, which is obviously incredibly good, but its choices for secondary charge moves are Bug Buzz, Hurricane, or Solar Beam. So the big thing that Volcarona is lacking would be some kind of a bait move. Volcarona would ideally really like a 35 energy move, and preferably one that is not fire type, because 35 energy and 55 energy Overheat would have very good synergy, where you could throw 9 Fire Spins and then double up with the Overheat and the bait move, and then really make some awkward guessing games for opponents. So it's a Pokemon that I would love to see potentially get a move update in the future. I assume at some point we'll probably have a Larvesta Calm Day, and that will be when we end up getting some kind of move update for it. So if we do end up getting a Larvesta Calm Day in the future, I hope that the charge move that they give it would be a very, very cheap bait move, because it doesn't really need a nuke move. It is 4 nuke moves already, so getting a move that could actually allow it to outpace things would be very nice, because currently the only shielding scenario in which it's ever really doing anything is the zeros, just because if there's shields in play, that is just getting outpaced by everything in the meta. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy watching today's video, please do help support the channel by leaving a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so appreciated, so thank you guys oh so very much, and until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.